Hi, what's going on?
Hi, I'm cool. I'm good. Oh my God, it's quite cold. My my AC is leaking right now, and that's not a good thing. I need to get it serviced.
Oh, that's not good. So you're in
No.
you're in Malaysia right now. That's
Yeah, sunny, bright Malaysia.
I assume you grew up in Malaysia.
I did.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Grew up in so Malaysia is like split into two parts. The peninsular Malaysia section that's connected to Thailand, and then
Mhm.
there's like the other section that's to the Indonesian side of things, which is in like big ass island called the Borneo Island, and I'm
Mhm.
from the Borneo Island. And growing up, it's like I don't know, it's really odd because like it's just like a tiny ass small little town, and like I didn't know. First thing that came into mind about that city is like the wage disparity. I don't know why, but that's just the first thing that like I can think of because growing up, I never really realized I had that kind of a privilege. There's like you go to school and like you didn't realize like how well off you are compared to your peers, and that's how I felt. I never really like brought it up or talk about it, but it didn't really occur to me until like I realized, like when I visited my friend's house and I'm like, oh, this is all you have, like, a 200 square foot home, or like even like, illegally built houses on like illegal compounds and stuff like that. Because the thing about my city is that it's our prime industry is oil and gas.
Mhm.
So I feel like anyone that jumps on like that oil and gas bandwagon gets like a good decent wage, I guess. But like there's also like poor people, and like when they're poor, like they're really dirt poor. Like they're people are like barely scraping by, and like I never realized I had that kind of a privilege until like I get to see like things. I don't know. I've always have been like quite sheltered, so
Mhm.
I think my parents are trying to like not let me see that side of that side of reality, and yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing that came into mind. Like it's kind of messed up, really.
Yeah, so you'd go to school and you'd meet kids and stuff, and you all went to the same schools, but just
Mhm.
the the wage gap is just massive between certain
Yeah,
people.
and like it's a little tiny nuances, like I bring like I bring like I don't know, like I bring like branded watercolor pencils to school, and like my friends would be like all gawking over it, or that like I'm you when I get my when I like when there's a new game that's released on Nintendo DS, and I'd be the one that gets it, and like I'll bring it to school and play it, and like it wasn't really my intention to show off, but everyone started to be like, you need to like chill with like telling people you have everything. I'm like, no, that's not what I was trying to do, but okay. And I realized, okay, maybe I was subconsciously like being a bit insensitive in that sense. So,
Mhm. You said you grew up on the peninsula part of Malaysia?
no, the Borneo part, not the one that's connected to Thailand, the one that's like
Oh, the
connected to
the the
Indonesia.
the island part.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Let me show you how Malaysia looks like so you can like really understand. Just like really passionate about my country real quick.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
So like this is the part that's like connected to Thailand. So
Okay,
that's where
yeah.
I am now. That's where the capital city Kuala Lumpur is. And you have like the other side, which is like right here. That's where I live.
Mhm.
A little green part in the middle. So,
Okay, so you grew up there, but you're currently in the peninsula
yes,
side? Okay.
yes, in Kuala Lumpur, in KL. That's the capital city.
And how'd you so tell me about going to school and getting into music.
I started off. it's always the same like cookie cutter PR answer, but like it started off with an iPad when my mom gifted one to me, and I discovered GarageBand, and I couldn't
Oh.
stop tinkering with it ever since. It's like the coolest thing ever when I first discovered it, and like there's it's just the best thing ever that's happened to me. And of course, like I made like really really shit songs from it too, but you got to start from somewhere, right? It's just
Uh-huh.
that back then I had I had the balls to put up a song on YouTube and think that no one's gonna criticize it. Like I really thought I did something. I guess that's the kind of confidence that people need to like have these days to like really be successful, I guess. Because that's the kind of like attitude I had. I was like making songs or just putting up on YouTube. And, like I was like, oh fuck the haters, because I get like 4 dislikes and 2 likes. And I'm like, whoa, it's getting controversial right here. And it's like a song about I don't know the lyrics is just like complete horseshit. I was like, I thought I was Taylor Swift. I wrote a song with like something about castles and like kings and queens, and I'm just about being in love, like and about my friends being in love, and I'm like, why am I trying to write my friends about and in like a regal matter? I don't even understand, but again, you got to start from somewhere, so that's what I did, and we kind of progressed a little bit. I hope.
Yeah. So you started writing on the iPad. How old are you when you got the iPad?
I was 14.
Okay. And did you
Mhm.
ever like sing in did your school have like a band or like a chorus?
I was in the church choir for a bit, but didn't really vibe with it, so I left pretty early. And I was also a bit agnostic, and I had like this whole phase of like exploring my faith and everything. I
Mhm.
realized church group wasn't really my thing. Like they were really nice, but it had a little occult vibe to it. So I was like, all right, I'm out. But like I usually just sing in the showers and the kind of person that throws everything to the wall and see what sticks. And I realized I have an affinity for like Mariah Carey's like falsetto, so I spent a lot of time trying to like replicate Mariah Carey's. Why do I pronounce a like apostrophe s with like this is like Mariah Carey's? That's not how it works, right?
Well, yeah, well, it's because it could be used as a as is. It's like a possessive. So Mariah Carey's song, so it's apostrophe because it's
Oh yeah,
she
yeah.
owns it. So it's it's all
English
good.
is such an interesting language. I can't.
How did you learn English?
Oh, everybody speaks English growing up. At least like by default. Like you can like the thing about being. Wait, did I answer your previous question? Kind of just want to go through it.
Sure, yeah. I think you did.
Yeah, yeah. Sing in the shower. I think that's pretty much the main take. Um, the state where I grew up in, we it's. I think Malaysians in general we're very like multilingual. We speak at least 2 languages. I speak three and like four, kind of low key. To
Wow.
another form of dialect. Like I speak Mandarin and like another form of Chinese, like a dialect, and Malay, which is like a national language of the country, but not really fluently, in English. So, like, if I see you in the streets and if you speak Malay to me, I reply in Malay, even though I'm not good at it, but I usually default to English because, like, that's the language that I grew up in. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it was always interested me to see how you'd pick up because your songs are all in English and stuff. So I wasn't sure if
Hmm.
that was like hard to translate them. But I guess if you already speak English
Yeah,
fluently, it's not a big deal.
yeah, no, not really. When I grew up, when I was in primary school, I speak a lot of Mandarin and Chinese. And
Mm-hmm.
it was, I think it wasn't until when I was like 10 or 11 that my dad was like, hey, let's try something real quick. Let's like code switch and make you change to speak to English more often. And I think that's where it all started because like I went to like Chinese primary school and speak predominantly Mandarin. So it's kind of interesting. Like when I grew up, like in my teenage years, my thought process and everything in my mind, it's like it's in English.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you went to primary school. And you're speaking Mandarin. You said is that your school
Yeah.
is all Mandarin?
Predominantly Mandarin. Again, like everyone grew up like learning all these three languages as like the bare minimum requirement to graduate because like you take English as a subject. But the thing is, a lot of people, I guess, don't see English as like necessary. So like they just take it as a subject and like
Sure.
don't really give a fuck about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like like I said, when I was 10, I kind of like tried code switching to English a bit more and like ease into it pretty easily. Took me like a couple of years, pretty much.
Nice. Yeah. Well, tell me about. So, what's the TBH stand for? And Alex.
I don't know. I just want to come up with like a moniker, like a name, and I thought TBH kind of Alex TBH kind of stands out a little bit because I used to say to be honest a lot. That was a long time ago. I don't really do that now. So
Oh, so to be honest, I like that.
yeah, it's like honesty is like kind of like part of my lingo and like my shtick, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back. So you started writing songs on the iPad. You said you're about 14. What was next for you there? Did you when after you're writing those songs on the iPad, what would you do next?
um, After my successful charting on YouTube with 4 dislikes and 2 likes, fuck, I want to know what the songs are. I think it's called "Rising from the Ashes" or something. And the first comment, I was expecting all good comments from my friends, and the first thing I said was, "It sounds like Beyonce's Halo." And like, no, it doesn't. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called "Rising from the Ashes." And fucking hell, I hate that song so much. It's giving me PTSD right now. But yeah, I think I was 17 or 18 years old when I like moved on to Logic Pro and like I downloaded from Pirate Bay. That's how every experience starts, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Pirate Bay, one Pirate Bay download later, here we are. No, I just wanted to do something more advanced, and I feel like GarageBand's features are like very, very limiting, and I grew like huge interest in like vocal comping and like music production. So I started going on YouTube and like do YouTube like go and search like YouTube tutorials to
Mhm.
um, just learn essentially. And most of the tutorials on YouTube are centered around the more EDM ish type of music, like Flume, like those
Mhm.
really loud synthy sounds with like really modern wham wham kind of tone to it.
Mhm.
So that kind of shaped my sound in the initial stage of alextbh. So I go on Logic and I just fire up the synth and be like, okay, how let's make that Louis the Child song today and like I'd like completely one to one emulate how it sounds like. So that's how it started off, just like imitating how some of these big artists do it. But I wasn't on the R&B side of things at all. It was like purely EDM. So if you listen to like my earliest songs like Alive or TVH,
Mhm.
it's like completely different from what I'm doing right now. It's like super synthy and like very 2014 Flume vibes.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because, most people if they picked up guitar or whatever, they would try to learn a, whatever song, White
Yeah.
Stripe song or something, and you were taking like the production element and kind of
Yeah.
doing covers, if you will, of other people's production, trying to copy it, and that's
Yeah.
cool. Like I've never heard of that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, then now that you put it that way, that's essentially it. People pick up guitars and like you'll learn songs. So like that's essentially it. My Logic Pro is essentially my instrument.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
tell me about Alive. Like, how old you when you put that out? Did you end up like going to school for music, or just all learn
Um
off YouTube?
it's through YouTube. I was in college. I studied engineering and I was in the process of getting a diploma back then. And I kid you not, I had to juggle a Hannah Montana life where I was a student by day and I was just like tinkering with music by night. And everyone asked me like, how do you manage to juggle like life between like being a musician and like being being an engineering student must be difficult. And I'm like, no, it's not because I suck at being an engineering student. It's as simple as that. Like I went to school because like for the sake of it, because like I don't know. I don't feel like I have a purpose. I was there to like try and get a diploma like everybody else. Like I'm just like clueless in life. I don't know where things are. But what one thing I do know is that like when I'm done with schoolwork, as soon as I have the chance, I open my laptop and start tinkering with like to like my like with Ableton, which is like the software that I'm using right now. But
Hmm.
I like go on tutorials and go download as much sample packs as I could, and I can try and like go on Pirate Bay, look up more, look at more things to crack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So, what was the first thing you put out as Alex TBH? Was that the
um,
Alive EP?
yeah.
Okay.
TH is the very first song. That was the can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Sorry.
TBH was the first song, and it was the first. It was also the first song that I confidently felt that I can put out to the world without feeling like it's like it's like a repeat of the Rising from the Ashes.
So that was the best one you thought, TBH?
Yeah, at that point, I thought that was like my magnum opus. Like, okay, we this is passable. This is okay, not magnum opus per se, but it's like passable. Like it's like SoundCloud material, and I can put it out there and not feel like shit.
So how did you put that EP together then? Was that all done on your own? Did you seek people
Yeah,
out to help produce it?
no, like it was a very like lonely world. Like the live world, it's a very lonely world. I did everything on my own, even mixing and mastering. I didn't even know the concept of mixing and mastering when I was doing the EP. I thought that because I don't know. It's like it started off as a passion project. So like the whole like thought process and the learning process, it all just like comes afterwards. It's all about like putting my ideas onto my computer first, and that's what I
Mhm.
did. So I just went along with it. Um, um, yeah, I had to like learn and study. Like, I think I took up a course on YouTube as well. Like this, it's like this series detailing like like all the steps and like to mix and master. And I still owe it to that till this day because I feel like even if you're not a producer, it's good to know the art of mixing. It's like something that I will never be able to replicate. You need to go to like a proper school to learn audio engineering side of things. But mixing essentially is like 50% science and 50% play. It's still art.
Mhm.
So
Very cool. Very cool. When you put out a live, were you performing live? Was there places for you to play? where you lived in Malaysia?
Yeah, by then, so soon after college, I moved to KL, and like by then, I didn't have the intention to like, I got my diploma, but I didn't really have the intention to like look for like engineering jobs, and I just spent like day and night just on my laptop doing music. And my first gig was um, in this bar street. Like it was upstairs, and it was like a it was a DJ set, and like I was the first one to go up. So, and it was like what, 7 p.m., and like what kind of crowd comes at like 7 p.m. at night? Like, I mean, they know exactly what they're doing when they put me up first. But I thought like it's like a good opportunity, it's a good look. And then like four people showed up. And I mean, like it was the first four people that saw me, so lucky them. But it was a DJ set. I don't know how to operate a DJ deck at all. I was like, oh, cool, a pioneer. Let me just try and like find the USB stick. That's how dumb I was. I was like, oh, and the guy was like, okay, you hold this button, it like allows you to like talk and speak to the mic, and that's all you need to know. And this is like tap to beat if you want to like beat match. And I'm like, okay, that's too complicated. Let me just put a like my instrumental right on it, and I'm gonna sing to it. And I was like, is this how you DJ? That's what I did. I put on a fucking it's giving me PTSD right now. I put on like instrumentals and asked my friend to press play. I would like hook a microphone to the Pioneer CDJ and I like sing to it. But that was my first performance to four people. You
That's
know what?
awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad only four people showed up. And honestly, when I did my thing, and I don't exactly remember what I did because the rest of the night got pretty like, let's just say not sober. But like I remember like they were pretty quiet. So I think I did something there. It's either they were so stunned by the way I performed, or that they were like, "What is this kid doing?" I hope it's the former.
So that was your first set.
Yeah, my very first performance.
That's awesome. So
Yeah,
after you
so
put out the alive songs, the next thing you released was Stoop So Low,
mm-hmm.
and that song is massive, like 20 million plus plays on Spotify. Like, tell me about that song.
Oof. So Stoop Solo came about because I was an 18-year-old. I was naive. I believed in love, all that bullshit. And like a guy broke my heart. And he's like, um, I think we should like not take this too seriously. And I did take it way too seriously. And I got my heart broken, quote unquote. And he's like, oh no, I think we're just seeing each other. And I'm like, excuse me? I got so mad, I cried. And I was staying over at my friend's place, Nisha's place, and I went to her place to like just cry it out and like had a sleepover. And then the next day I couldn't sleep well. I woke up at like 8 or 9. I woke up at 8 or 9 in the morning.
Like this morning.
And I was more disciplined back then. No. I picked up my mic, like my little shitty Audio Technica 80-20-20 mic with a little cute tripod stand. I put it on a table, hooked it up to my laptop. Boom, 2 hours later, a song came about. Everything, like start to finish. I wrote this, like, I just sing directly to the microphone how I felt. Like, and I think that's why the song took off, because of its like authenticity. There was no notion of like, okay, this part needs to be fixed, this verse needs to be taken out, this needs to be polished. It just is. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I find it really interesting. Something that took me 2 hours to make from start to finish, that I didn't hesitate for 1 second that 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 it's gonna turn out this way. Like I never hesitate. I just put it up there and I know like that's how I felt. And I was just so angry. I wanted to prove a point. I wanted him to hear it. It was like I made the song with the intention that I want him to hear how sad I was.
Mhm.
It was never really about like plays or anything. So
Right, right. But it ended up organically gaining that kind of traction, or did it get
uh
playlisted later or something?
so it didn't really start off that way. I had to like go through Submit Hub. Do you know what Submit Hub is?
Mm-mm.
Submit Hub is essentially like where you like there's like a congregation of like different like magazines and websites and whatnot, and you just like push your song to all of them, and like
Oh, yeah, I've heard about it's like a
yeah,
yeah,
it works on
okay.
like a coin system. Like you purchase like 50 coins, and like if you like want to send to bigger publications, it costs more coins. Where like conversely, if you want to send to like a smaller publication, maybe like based on like a specific country with a specific language, you don't need to spend as much. So it's like that. So I spend so much time trying to like push this to like ear milk, or like like those like big major like music magazines, or like Pitchfork. None of them like accepted it. They were just they gave me feedback saying like like it didn't really have the potential. It didn't really have the like wow factor, or like sorry, this wasn't really like the kind of sound that we were looking for. And I think until like uh Hilly Dilly, they were the first one that picked it up, and they were like, we love this song. And it was like just really short review, like we love uh we love this like minimalist beat, and it's really raw. And like I didn't think too much about it, and just I was just like, okay, wow, cool, like thanks for featuring me. And I think that's where it all started. And soon after, Spotify started playlisting me and like putting me in like major R&B playlists, like I don't remember what it was. I think it's R&B, like ARENBE. I think it was put in that playlist. It has like hundreds of thousands of people in it, and the the play count like shot up ever since. So
That's cool. That must have been really exciting seeing the numbers just keep growing.
absolutely, yeah, like I remember I reached out to this guy that I met on Instagram. He's based in the US, but he's from Malaysia and he works in like the music industry. So he wanted to call me to just like talk to me about like the early stages of my career, because I thought like he wants to manage me or whatever, but just turned out to be like just a conversation. But I showed him my statistics on Spotify, and he told me things like, oh, like it's really dangerous. You have like 90% of your plays on like Spotify editorial playlists. You should make sure that it's always like your percentage must lean on like your listeners, because like that's that's how you get your plays to stabilize. So I guess I learned a lot from that. And I got a little bit too obsessed with like checking my artist page every day, just like looking at like the statistics and like the playlists and like
Well, yeah, I could see that. I mean, once it starts, really picking up, it's like, "Oh my gosh, it's at 1,000,000 now. How much further is it gonna
uh,
go?" I mean, I could totally understand that.
yeah, when it first hit like 100,000, I was like, oh my god, I was, it was crazy. I didn't like. Little did I know it will become like the song that it is today. Like I mean, part of me still doesn't really get it, but I kind of get it. Like I like the technical side of things. Like I said, it's like it's organic, it's raw. It's like people relate to how emotionally raw it is. But like again, another side of me is like, wow, this must be luck. I mean, I did the whole Submit Hub thing. Hilly Dilly picked it up, but someone from Spotify's office decided that like decided that he should put Stoop Solo in this playlist. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. That's I mean, 20 million plays, that's so insane. That's awesome, man.
yeah.
From there, were you getting contacted by, like, labels and managers and stuff based off those plays?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So like the labels started like tiny ass labels that I've never heard of, like indie labels started approaching me. And like we had like Skype sessions, but it never really came to fruition. And that was the time when I like started to really like study about like the music industry and like trying to like see how everything works, the mechanics behind it, and like what publishing means, what royalties are, what all these like producer agreements, all these mean. So I try to look it up, and at the same time, um, had a couple label talks, but not major labels. But nothing came to again, nothing came to fruition. But like it didn't really deter me because I kind of liked the whole independent shtick anyways. I thought that
Mhm.
that was pretty cool. Like to like learn about the whole industry whilst you're being independent instead of like going through the whole getting signed and getting a 360 deal vibe and then like realizing, oh, maybe I'm like fucked over by people or like by the industry. So that's why that's what I didn't want to happen to me. So I took my time and like did a bit of reading and like understanding.
Mhm.
Soon after, Kenny, which is my current manager, he like reached out to me and he's like, "Yo, I love what you're doing," but we never really had like a real mm, conversation about managing or anything. At that point, he was just like low-key my mentor. He just gave me like advice
Mhm.
um, about the industry in general. So
And he just
through
reached out to you?
yeah, he just reached out to me. I don't exactly remember how, but it's definitely online. It's through social media.
Okay.
So he reach out to me and give me like advice or like if I have any question, I'll go up to him and like he'll answer it to me. Um, and current at that point he was managing like a band called Opia. So like he'll like give me what like he'll like tell me how Opia gets managed, things like
Mhm.
that, or like little tip insider industry tip that I might not know of. And slowly that conversation kind of got more and more serious and like it became and at one point we were like, okay, let's just sit down and talk about being managed by you. And again, this is someone that I have met online and I built like an online connection with him, but I never met him in real life. So I'm not sure at that point. I still don't, well, I wasn't really sure what I was signing up for.
Mhm.
And I just had to like 100% put my faith in him. Until this day, I'm so glad I did it because it was a pretty ballsy move. If I like, if I think of it, like it's still, I don't know, to trust someone on the other end of the screen, someone that's like so far away from you, and you're just like, you have no idea what you have no idea what you're gonna do with your career. But then I was like, that's the that's kind of like what I my whole ethos. Like I didn't know what I was doing. But I'm winging it, just like how Stoop Solo came about. I just wing
Mhm.
it. So yeah.
So he contacted you. Have you you said you hadn't met him in real life, so you have now?
Mhm.
You
So
still
yeah,
haven't?
I did a couple times. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my
okay.
god, that this is a crazy ass story. So Kenny and I was like, yo, let's meet up. Let's set up producer sessions. You can stay over at my place. Money's tight, but it's okay. He's just like the nicest person ever, I swear to God. But yeah, he's like, you can stay over at my place. Let's arrange some sessions. I want you to like really know how the industry is like. I want better place to be in other than LA, right? So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, let me look up ways to like, let me look at flight tickets and all that. And Malaysians, the thing about us is we have to go to the embassy to apply for a visa. You can't just get an ESTA, like British, like if you're a UK citizen, you can get what I believe is called an ESTA. This is like a temporary electronic visa for you to go to the US. But Malaysians, we have to go through interviews, which I think is like ridiculous because Singaporeans, which is like right below us in the border, they can just like go to the US for 14 days without needing a visa even, but I don't know, whatever. I,
Weird.
I huh?
I said that's weird. So you have to go
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
like have like a whole application process if you just want
Yeah.
to come
It makes me
vacation here.
wonder if it's like politically charged in some ways or it has something to do with religion. I wonder. But I went to the embassy and lo and behold, I didn't get it. Cried my ass out. I remember I was told off by the guard outside, like, oh no no. I remember when I was so confident that I was gonna get it, but the woman just like came up to me with such a blank face, like no emotion whatsoever. It's just like deadpan. She was like, Alex, I'm so sorry, but I have to deny your request. And here are the reasons why you are not allowed to enter the US. If there's anything that you would like to ask, the answers are all on this piece of paper. And if you have any questions, please visit our website. Thank you very much. It was just that, like, she crushed my dreams. I don't know what her name is, but it should be Karen. But fucking Karen crushed my dreams. I was so stunned. I was like, oh my god, this is literally my one way ticket to Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
literally, I gave her my passport, done everything, but I read the paper and it said that I didn't have a proper job and I wasn't employed. So I can't prove that I can come back to Malaysia after I resided in the US, after I stayed in the US. So like they want to make
Oh,
sure. Yeah,
they
it
want to
was
make sure that you're gonna come home.
essentially, and it's a tourist visa. It's not even a work visa for fuck's sake. It's a fucking tourist visiting visa. I couldn't even get that. That's what break. That's what broke me. And I remember. Oh,
God.
one thing I remember she said very vividly. I never forget to this day. She said, "You're too young," and I just couldn't process that. I was 21 years old, but I don't know what that entails. I don't exactly know what that means, and I'm not sure who she deals with on a daily basis that she has to say that to me. Maybe she deals with a lot of students who has to study and she deals with like employed people, working class. But I think I don't know. Maybe I'm the first person that she met that is on this like that's on this case on this basis. Like she's like that she had to reject me. I don't know. Like, but the reasoning was that I don't have a job. Essentially, I'm not employed, so I couldn't prove that I'm a taxpayer, which also means I couldn't prove that I'm able to come back to Malaysia.
So you had to have a job in Malaysia to come back to
Yeah,
Malaysia
essentially,
from
or
the
you have to be a student, and I wasn't really a student by then. I graduated, so
Mm. Wow. So that you're supposed to meet your manager for the first time. They deny you.
yeah.
Then
If I
what happens?
Yeah, if I got the visa, it would have been like a 10-year visa, and I don't have to go through it again because like once you get it one time, you get like a 10-year pass and you can visit US. So that was literally my golden ticket, and I didn't get it. I cried so hard, and I got told off because the guy was like, "Okay, you need to get out. I'm sorry, you can't stay here. You need to go now." And everyone was very very like emotionless, and in my head, like I'm usually a more rational person. I don't really get emotionally charged, but I couldn't help it but to cry that day. But in my head, I knew like in my head, I knew like that was their procedure. That was just like what they have to deal with.
Mhm.
But my God, do they not have any like emotion like or any like empathy at all?
Yeah,
So it
that's
was just like
crazy.
at a completely wrong time, wrong moment. It felt very emotional because I was like, just the way they behave, the way everyone behaved around me, just like exacerbates my sadness and my grieving, essentially. So yeah, I ended up. I couldn't even walk around the compound. Like I was outside of the gates, right? And I was outside just trying to like dial a phone to pick up, like call somebody to try and talk. But I just got told off, and then I had to like, okay, fine, okay, fuck this whole place, fuck this entire compound. I'm gonna walk somewhere. So I just like kept walking aimlessly for like 10, 15 minutes. And I just like, I think I was on the other side of the highway by then. And then I picked up the phone and called my friend. And then she's from the US. And then she was like, oh, sweetie, oh, whatever. And was trying to console me, but I knew back then. And I knew by then, like, it was kind of fucked. But turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So I gathered myself, went back to the drawing board, and I was like, yo, how can we do this? And Kenny's like, let's let's meet in London.
Oh,
let's
brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's meet halfway. If we can't, if you can come to LA, let's meet somewhere in the middle on the globe. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it. And Kenny has never traveled like that far. I mean, like Kenny has never been to the furthest Kenny has been, I think he told me was like South America, but he's never been to London.
Mhm.
So let alone Asia. We'll get to that later. But he's never been to London. I've never been that far either. I've never been to London. Never been to Europe in general. Furthest I've been is like I don't know China, like Beijing probably, and that's like still in Asia. So never really. I didn't know what to expect.
Mhm.
But we did it. We fucking did it. We set up a time. One, I stay in London for like a month, and he's scheduled to meet me for like a whole week. I couldn't believe it. We met. So we planned everything together. He was like, let's get this Airbnb. Okay, let's get this Airbnb. I don't know. Maybe this place. Maybe this is a strategic place because it's right next to the train station. It turned out to be a really shitty place that no one lives in. It's like a tourist trap, and it's like a weird financial district. But whatever. Um, um, I went to the hotel. He was at Brick Lane at a bar because that's where we're supposed to meet. But I first have to drop my stuff in the hotel, so I went to the hotel room and I dropped my bags, and it was just like this tiny ass room with like two single beds, and I went in the room and I was like, and Kenny was Kenny was already there, and he had his stuff there, right? And I just and I was looking around, and I was like, oh my god, is this Kenny? Is this like actually his thing? Am I actually meeting this guy? Am I being scammed right now? And I look through and I look through his like Old Spice like deodorant. I'm like, okay, this is Kenny. This is Kenny. I'm sure this is Kenny, but I'm still like apprehensive. I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing? That is essentially what went through my head the entire time. And then I took a train, went to Brick Lane to meet him. Boom, there he is. With another writer. He was meeting another writer named Charlie. And we were supposed to have a session together, but yeah, it didn't pan out. But more important thing is I met Kenny for the first time and I was like, I was screaming essentially. Like, it was crazy. It was surreal. And he just like, he's just so tall and like Jewish. I was like, I don't remember. I think the first thing I said to him after his scream, I was like, "Shalom, motherfucker," or something like that. I don't remember. Something along the lines of that. But yeah, um, he set me up with um, studio sessions in Europe, and the first session I've ever done in my entire life is in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and
Hmm.
it's just so weird because he just happened to like meet up with like the the Danish guys when they came over to LA. So they met up at a party, and Kenny's like, "Yo, can you want to set up a session with this guy?" And they're like, "Sure." And I'm like, "Okay." And here I am in London with Kenny, and like I'm about to fly off to Copenhagen in a couple of days, and it's surreal. Yeah. So the whole like your trip is crazy, and we spent the first night just like getting to know each other. We got really really drunk, bar hopping. Um, had this bagel, and he couldn't stop complaining about the bagel, about how shitty the bagel is. He's just like, oh my god, they wouldn't have done it this way, like in New York. Like, oh my god, you have to come to New York. And I'm like, bitch, I just went through a visa, like, this hour.
Nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to rub it in my face. And he's like, you gotta visit New York, man. The bagels are like, oh, fucking amazing. I'm like, okay, good for you then.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you been in the United States yet, or
No.
still waiting on the visa?
Um, I'm sure at this point I can't obtain a visa right now, but I just want to make sure like I don't fuck it up this time around. Like,
Uh-huh.
just want to get things like I just want to make sure like I don't get rejected again, because like once you get rejected, it's like the I don't know, they take rejections into consideration, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, you
you
don't
need
have
to, yeah, you don't want to just
multiple.
like yeah, you don't want to exhaust your means and like end up getting banned from the US. That's like my nightmare, but I don't, that's like very, very unlikely.
Mhm. Very cool. So tell me about Between is the latest song you've released,
Mhm.
and you've got a new EP coming out as well
Yeah.
in a few weeks. Tell me about that.
Woo. Woof. About the song or the EP?
Both. I want to hear. Oh, tell me about the song first. Between.
Um, Between, I wrote, like, if you want to get to like the production side of things, it all started with a bass line. I wanted to make something really mean sounding, but also I was referencing a lot of Justin Timberlake back then. It was a lot of like, what was that album? The one with Suit and Tie. Yeah, I just listened through that entire album over and over. Oh, 2020, I think.
Oh
20,
yeah.
yeah. I listened to that album over and over again. I listened to Sexy Back, and I was like, shit, his voice is just so good. And production, obviously Timbaland is really good. But it's like the voice that carried the whole vibe, the sound, and it can be vulnerable when it wanted to. It can be central when it wanted to. So I wanted to recreate this like central vibe with like the falsetto stacked on top of my head voice. So that was the idea that I started with. And then I had this like bass line that I just had in my head over and over again. It's like mm, 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 da, 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 da. And yeah, I just laid it down and had a little floor beat like boom, boom, da, 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 da. And I that's how it all started. And then I just like, when I know a song is good when I had just the bass, just the beat, but I can write something to it already. So that's what happened. I didn't even have synth or anything. I didn't even have a chord progression, but it's just a bass line and I sang on top of it. So that felt really cool because I've never done that before. And then I just started singing a falsetto. like I thought it was really cool to put in. So did that, and I panned my voice to not be in the center, but instead to be around. And I thought that was cool because I was
Yeah.
referencing. Have you heard Seth Deliza's "Human," the song?
No, no, I'm not familiar.
Uh, yeah, that's so in that song, Seth Deliza's her voice was panned out to the side. So like it's really cool. So her voice would come out from the right side, but it would
Mhm.
come out on the left side just a few milliseconds after. So it gave this illusion that her
Oh.
voice was panned to both left and right, even though it like came the voice kind of like came
Yeah,
later
it's just
automatic.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, you get that sense, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I want to emulate for the a verse in between, and that's what I did. It's called a house effect. I found out afterwards. So yeah, I put a house effect on the vocal on the verse. I thought it was really cool. But after I finished this, I finished the demo, but I knew something was missing. I knew it was like not there yet, and it was like a lot of things that I wanted to do are outside of my like production abilities. So I reached out to Cole from Opia, which is the band that Kenny managed, right?
Mhm.
So Kenny hooked me up with Cole from Opia. We started working together pretty closely ever since. But I gave him this track, and I was like, something needs to be done with this. And when he gave the track back, um, when he sent like the first draft to me, I was like, holy shit, she went crazy towards the end, like the little guitar riff. It was way crazier. Like in the first draft, I had to tell him to like tone it down and then cut it in half because he was like really feeling himself, and I was like, right, let's get this 3 minute radio mark. To hit that 3 minute radio mark. This is
Tone down
like,
the solos.
yeah, we need to tone down the riff. Yeah, get it. Get a grip. Come on. But I mean, I love him. He's major talented. Like, holy crap, I listened to it and I was like, wow, I didn't know it can be elevated to this level. Like I started with the intention of wanting to make like, like a gay version of Sexy Back essentially.
Mhm, yeah.
With that floor beat kind of, vibe. So when the guitar came in, wow, I was like, okay, this is a bop, certified. So yeah,
Right.
that's what Between is essentially. Like lyrically, I mean, I just wanted to write something that I felt comfortable with. Like I've always happened like writing about heartbreak, and like I did write about like one night stands and encounters, but it was never really like majorly explicit. I think Between like my first like foray into like this world. I just want to like write something that I can feel like I'm proud to be queer. I'm proud to be like, I'm proud of owning my sexuality and writing in this sense and using the word boy in the songs and not be apologetic about it. Like back then, I would be not gonna lie. When I write songs back then, I had to like figure out ways to make it like, even though I know I'm openly gay, I still would subconsciously find ways to like make it more sexually more neutral
Neutral,
in terms of
yeah.
sexuality because I knew like like again, looking at Spotify statistics, and you're like, oh my god, 60% of these people are like females. I want to like squeeze every penny from them and like do all that shit. And then I realized it, it goes against my authenticity, and it's not what teenage stands for, is it? So between kind of like in between, I try to like break that kind of mold. So yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Mhm. Was that scary at first, putting out songs that were, you're being open
Not
about?
necessarily. Not necessarily. It's just that I'm not a. I just don't really talk about sex or anything of that particular subject.
Mhm.
Or I just even in real life, it's just like I keep things to myself. I don't tell my friends my hookup. I don't tell my friends who have been seen. I don't tell my friends things.
Mhm.
So music is if music is the way that I can tell the world how I feel, then so be it. And that's like the kind of um, vibe that I wanted to give off.
Nice. So the EP is going to be called The Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out on June 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it. How excited are you to put out your debut EP?
I'm very excited. Woo. Very, very excited because I've been coming up with this concept for the longest time, and it's been so long. I just wanted it out. Some of these songs are like a year old. I'm like, oh my god, sick of hearing this. I just want it on Spotify right this instant. But the chase is essentially about um, the aftermath of like me writing songs about heartbreak, and just like what happens after that. So after a while, I realized I wanted to like give the world my middle finger essentially instead of fuck everything, fuck everyone. I'm trying to. I'm invincible. I'm unstoppable. Nothing can touch me. Nothing can hurt me. I've been so hurt that I'm numb of my feelings. So I'm gonna fuck it. I'm gonna fuck it up and fuck around and like do whatever I want. And then I started like seeing sex as like merely it's just it's just sex to me. And then I start hooking up way more, but that's only like to prove my point, I guess. Just to like so that I can ghost people. It's kind of fucked up. I get a high from like meeting people and like go through the whole like hooking up experience, and I have this whole plot in my head that I want them to like me, and then they'll like open up to me after hooking up so that they say things like, oh, you know, I think this is more than a hookup. We should like meet again sometime. And we start talking, and I pretend to like be interested in it. And I'll be like, yeah, sure, yeah. But I'll be like talking to like, I don't know, 4 or 5 people at the same time. And I'll say the same thing. And I'll like just ghost them. And I'll like move on, essentially. I don't know. It's really fucked up. I get a high off of that. But it was a really distraught period of time. Like I'd wake up seeing different ceilings. That kind of inspired one of the songs in the EP called Painted Skies. Painted Skies is like essentially like a reference to like the different ceilings that I wake up to in different
Oh,
mornings.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
creative.
yeah, I
Nice.
thought that was a really cool song to write about. Essentially just like that fucked up sentence is like waking up and seeing different ceilings every day, and then you just walk out the door and you don't feel things and whatever, bye.
Yeah.
So yeah, the chase is about that period of my life, like over a year and a half ago, I think, or a year ago, last year, or early 2019. Um, I was just carefree, didn't really think too much, and it got into a point until I realized um, I didn't really, I don't know what I don't even know if this is what I wanted to do. Like I didn't, I don't let me think through this. Holy shit, it's too early. The chase about relationships that is just too quick that that fizzles out over time, over a short period of time, and it's also about the hookup culture essentially. More specifically in the gay community, but I mean after I played it to a lot of people are like, they all tell me like I can totally relate to this even if I'm not queer. So I feel like that could be the running theme as well, just like hookup culture in general. But it's just like how our generation navigates around the hookup culture and how precarious everything seems to be and how short-lived everything is because we're all just so risk like we all just want to go through this like risk-free route of like not falling in love with people because like everyone just built their wall, like we all build our walls up, and like it's easier to just meet somebody and hook up and like pretend that you're interested in them and invest in them than to like actually open up to them. And that was what I was wondering. Like the question that I brought up in the EP essentially was like, how do we navigate around this scene and not be fucked up, and not be
Mm-hmm.
like, and not end up having it, and not having it like mess with our heads at the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like everyone around me just seems to have like this anything goes mindset. So that's definitely the driving factor of why we are constantly on dating apps all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was doing for the longest time, and I still am. I'm not lying. I'm not gonna lie. I still am. I'm still doing it. But what I was so, what I was so um, sad about is the fact that I go on and say things like, okay, I'm gonna quit Grinder, like I'm going to like not do this whole like speed dating thing. I don't want to meet people again. I want to really meet people and connect with them because I feel better that way. I say things like that, but I still go back to it because it's just too easy. Like the reward is just like too too good to pass up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go back on Grinder in a heartbeat. So that's how I navigate around the scene this whole time. And this EP doesn't really provide really.
Is it going to be weird releasing your debut EP during a quarantine? Are you quarantined in Malaysia?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's called condition quarantine, so you can technically go out and there's like retail stores open, I think, but like no one bothers, and I don't think anyone would want to risk that. So things are still the same essentially, but
Oh,
I'm going to
okay.
try. I'm going to try to like go out a bit more often than usual. But yes, I don't think it's weird during quarantine. It just like messes up with my schedule. But then again, so is everyone else's schedules, right? So I try to be like as optimistic as I can during these kind of trying times and think of like the frontliners and like what they've been doing. Like some people have it far worse than I do. Like you know, so to have my EP out during quarantine, I just feel a bit more indifferent to it now. It just feels like, yeah, it it's still on schedule. So at least there's that,
That's
and
cool.
and at least, and I mean, I can't tour, and I wish I could just bring my EP around and like sing all the songs in the EP. I wish I could do that on tour, but I can't. So gotta think of creative ways to like push this EP around.
Have you been doing like Instagram live videos and stuff?
That's funny because I was about to do it tomorrow.
Oh,
Just like,
really?
yeah, I wanted to do like a little Q&A sesh, or like at least I don't really do an Insta live. I know I should, so yeah, just want to hang out with my bitches a little bit.
I love that. Right on, Alex. I really appreciate your time today or this morning for you, I guess. um, Again, thank you so much for chatting with me. I have one more question for you. I want to
All right.
know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Um, Throw everything to the wall and see what sticks, and that takes time. And I think 80% of the people give up on like the first 6 months of their career. I think that's how it is with everything else in life, I guess, when it comes to like passion. You think that this is your passion, you give your all, and then after that it kind of fizzles out and then you give up. But to be really good at what you're doing, you really need to believe in yourself. It's really corny and cheesy, but like you really do have to believe in it, and you have to. If you have to resort to like faking your confidence, then so be it. Do it. I put out a shitty song about castles and queens and kings about somebody else's love that I don't even know or have experience of, and here I am. So if I can do it, then so can you. You know, don't be afraid of. And also like, don't be afraid of criticisms, but also know where to get your criticisms from. Know your audience and get the right kind of criticism, because sometimes it can be really, really damaging to you, and you would think that is a legit criticism, even though it's just a hate speech essentially. So you need to know like the right kind of people to trust. And for me, it's my manager and my friends. They'll tell me things as is. So it's always good to have feedback so you can improve upon yourself, because there's no any other way, right? Bringing it backward.